After 15 years of service, billionaire lady discovers her driver's hidden life, the incredible truth revealed. Evelyn Hart was about to host the biggest charity gala of her career, one that would benefit local veterans. The lavish mansion, filled with glistening decor and a sea of catered delicacies, was the perfect setup for her world of opulence. Yet, amidst the chatter about gold-plated invitations and designer dresses, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It nagged at her, a seemingly insignificant shadow that lurked in the back of her mind, until the day she veered down a road that shifted her entire perspective. As she drove her sleek black limousine for a delivery of gala supplies, she took a wrong turn and found herself in the heart of James's neighborhood. Where manicured lawns and grand estates housed the elite, this place stood in stark contrast: graffiti-stained walls and tattered playgrounds filled with children whose smiles concealed the weight of their struggles. Evelyn's heart sank as she rolled through streets of cracked concrete and decaying homes, each corner revealing a raw truth that stung like a bitter slap. How could her driver, her faithful driver for 15 years, come from this? Pulling the car off to the side, she blinked back tears. James, who had stood by her through high-stakes meetings and red carpet events, was a man of quiet resilience. Yet here, in the world he belonged to, the poverty and despair told a story she was blind to. She couldn't help but feel guilt gnaw at her insides. What kind of world had she been living in? In her plush bubble, she had never thought to ask about James's life beyond the hearsay and surface pleasantries. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she returned home, the evening drew closer, but the shadows of James's life haunted her. The gala was meant to be a beacon of hope for veterans, but now it felt hollow. The thought of James and the 2 children he fought to raise alone loomed large in her mind. She could no longer compartmentalize her driver's existence from her own. A crisis hit the community just days later. A fire broke out in one of the neighboring homes, leaving families out in the cold. As James shared the news with her, his voice was laced with barely concealed worry. "It's a tough time for everyone, Miss Hart," he said, but his words fell like weights onto her conscience. In that moment, both the realities collided, and Evelyn realized it wasn't just a charitable gala, but a chance to forge a genuine connection. They stared at one another, both knowing that their paths had crossed far beyond the professional boundaries. With hearts pounding and vulnerability laid bare, they decided to join forces and host a fundraiser, this time not just for veterans, but for the collective fight against the struggles of their shared community. As they pushed through the tension of weeks leading up to the event, Evelyn knew they stood on the brink of something monumental. Would they bridge the stark divide of their worlds and prove that kindness and true partnership could move mountains? Or would they unravel under the weight of their mismatched realities? Uncertainty hung thick in the air, overshadowing the excitement of the gala that was only days away, and Evelyn was left to wonder if redemption could truly be theirs. The gala day had arrived, draped in luxurious fabric and illuminated by 1,000 sparkling lights. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the mansion transformed into a beacon, inviting the city's elite to come and celebrate. But for Evelyn, as she stood at the grand entrance, her heart was heavy. Instead of feeling the thrill of hosting, she felt the weight of her connection with James. Every champagne glass clink and every compliment on her gown echoed a haunting truth. How could she stand here in her realm of privilege when the reality outside its walls was so stark? She scanned the crowd for him, her pulse quickening at the thought of sharing this moment with someone who understood the struggles beneath the glitz. When James finally arrived, looking sharp in a tailored suit that somehow couldn't hide the tiredness etched on his face, a wave of relief washed over her. Their eyes locked, and in that fleeting moment, the chaos around them faded away. She could see him,
a man who made her the person she was today, standing at the crossroads of their worlds. "Are you ready for this?" she asked, her voice a mix of excitement and anxiety. He chuckled softly, brushing a hand through his hair. "Ready as I'll ever be. Just remember, it's not about who we impress, but who we help." That struck a chord in her heart. They were in it together, fighting against odds that seem impossible. As the evening progressed, they moved through the crowd, sharing stories about the community they loved. The room buzzed with cash flows and bids, but the weight of their purpose stood stronger. Halfway through the night, they stepped onto the stage to present their cause. Evelyn took a moment to gather her thoughts. "Tonight, we gather not just as individuals, but as a community. The funds raised will echo beyond this gala. We have neighbors who need us," she declared, her voice trembling with earnestness. "And with each contribution, we're not just helping veterans, we're restoring hope for everyone affected by hardship."
James nodded, inspiring courage within her. Yet, as she glanced at the audience, she sensed apathy. Eyes began to wander, and whispers crept into conversations. Panic welled up within her, but she pressed on, desperately hoping to bring their attention back. She had to make them see. "Let's join hands to uplift our community," she urged, her voice now breaking. "Imagine the families still reeling from the fires, struggling to find shelter. They need more than just donations. They need hope. The same hope we all have, don't we?" A hush fell over the crowd, and as she looked at James, there was a spark of faith in his eyes. But just as she sensed the tide turning, a man from the audience scoffed loudly. "What do you know about real struggle? You live in a mansion." The words hit her like daggers, and she faltered. In that raw moment, silence enveloped the room, all eyes now glued to her. The truth burned on her lips. She wanted to share everything she'd learned about hardship, about empathy, about James, yet her voice stuck in her throat. "Evelyn," James whispered, stepping close to her. "You've got this. Speak from your heart." Tears pricked at her eyes, and she drew a breath, ready to reveal the truth about the man who had been more than just a driver in her life. But could she put her vulnerability into words? "Did you all know?" She hesitated, feeling a surge of courage. "Did you know that my driver, James, is not just my employee, but a father fighting for his children in this very community? He sees their struggles every day, and so do I now." Before she could continue, the next moment sent a ripple of anticipation through the crowd. Would her confession unlock their hearts, or would James's story be lost in the noise of the night? Would they embrace the truth, or let it slip away into the shadows? Evelyn's heart raced as she felt the air thicken with tension. She could see the skepticism etching lines across the faces in the crowd, but behind the initial scoff, a flicker of curiosity sparked. It was as if her confession had momentarily pried open a door that had long been locked. "James," she said, her voice laced with emotion, "has been more than just a driver to me. He's a mentor, a guide, a storyteller who has opened my eyes to the beauty and pain in our community." The whispering intensified. A few people leaned in, intrigued by the genuine tension in her tone. She took a deep breath, the weight of their judgment heavy on her shoulders. She had opened a floodgate, and she needed to give them a reason to draw closer. "His children are my witness to the hardship we often ignore. Each day, they rise in a world far removed from this gala glitter." She gestured around her, her heart pulsating with urgency. "Every dollar we raise tonight isn't just for the numbers. It's for everyday struggles, for families who are choosing between food and rent, for veterans who fought bravely, only to be forgotten when they return home." A hush rippled through the audience. The man who had scoffed shifted in his seat. Now something like recognition flickered in his eyes. Encouraged, Evelyn continued, her voice stronger. "James deserves a chance to tell his story, to bring his world into ours." James stepped forward, his presence grounding her. "I've been lucky to know someone like Evelyn. She's not just a billionaire, she's a fighter. But the fight doesn't end here." He gestured towards the audience. "It's a fight for our neighbors, for kids who deserve hope." The crowd held its breath. For a moment, the opulence of the mansion felt like a backdrop to a more profound truth, glaringly obvious. It was not just about money. It was about humanity. Evelyn turned back to James, her heart swelling. "We're all in this together, right? Our struggles are intertwined. If one of us falls, we all will. Let's empower those who can't speak for themselves."
Then a woman in the back stood up, her hand raised. "What can we do?" Her voice carried a weight that seemed to pull everyone's attention like gravity. An unexpected wave of hope washed over Evelyn. Here it was, the moment she had prayed for. "We can start by pledging tonight. Every dollar counts and will help provide shelters, food, and education. No amount is too small when it comes from a place of love." More hands began lifting, voices echoing with pledges. A small but growing momentum built within the room. James smiled, a tender expression revealing the faith he had in her. This was it. Together they were transforming the night from a mere gala into a call to action. As spirits lifted, laughter started to bubble up amidst the conversations. Evelyn felt a warmth envelop her. The struggle was far from over, but they had ignited a spark. But just as she thought things were shifting magically, the man who had scoffed earlier chimed in once more. "But how do we know any of this actually reaches them? How do we trust you? You're too far removed from their realities." The room fell silent. That question loomed large, and Evelyn felt the air grow thick again. James glanced at her, and for a fleeting second, doubt flickered across her features. "Trust is earned," she finally said, her voice resolute, "and we will share our journey with you every step of the way. If we fall short, we will face the consequences together." But the moment her statement faded into the ambiance, she felt an undercurrent of fear ripple through her. She had opened a challenge that could turn against them at any moment. What if they did not see the sincerity in her heart? What if they turned away, and this moment of hope slipped back into shadows, leaving her and James standing exposed? As she stared into the sea of faces, she sensed her chance for redemption hung in the balance. Would daring to be vulnerable and taking that leap of faith yield a powerful transformation, or would it send them spiraling into doubt once more?
Evelyn's heart pounded as silence enveloped the room. She took a step closer to James, their shoulders nearly brushing, a silent reminder that they were in this together. The crowd's gaze remained fixed on her, waiting for her next words. Would they give her a chance to inspire them, or would the doubt crush the spark they had ignited? Suddenly, she spotted a familiar face in the crowd. It was Marissa, a former colleague from her early days building her business. Marissa's eyes glistened with tears. Through shared experiences, they had shared laughter, struggles, and secrets that felt too heavy at times. She mouthed a word of encouragement. "Believe." Evelyn inhaled sharply, feeling the warmth of their shared history fortify her resolve. "Tonight, we unveil a plan," Evelyn began, her voice sharper with newfound clarity. The uncertainty seemed to wane with her shifting demeanor. "This isn't just about money. It's about building connections, creating safe spaces for the voices that go unheard. We've lived lives stacked with privilege, and now it's time to share that privilege, to turn the glitter into gold for those who need it most." Eyes whitened, murmurs of agreement rippled through the attendees, and just like that, the man who had questioned her stepped forward again, his demeanor less confrontational, more curious. "All right, but what does that look like?" he challenged. "What will sharing that privilege mean?" Evelyn took a breath, sizing up the challenge, ready to share tangible actions they could take together. "We're launching community programs that connect resources to those who need them, local mentorship programs where we, together, will step into their lives, their struggles. We'll invite those who've walked similar paths to teach and share. Let's break down the barriers." James nodded vigorously. "Empathy requires action. It's not enough to see the problem from a distance. We need to dive in, get dirty, like hands in the soil planting hope. We will promise transparency. You will see how your contributions make a difference." A wave of appreciation washed over Evelyn as James spoke. His passion was contagious, and they both felt the energy shift. The crowd was leaning in, engaged. She could hear voices whispering, "This could work," and "I want to be part of this." Hope surged again as pledges continued to roll in. It was as if the evening had transformed. Instead of a gala, they were part of a hopeful uprising. Evelyn's heart soared. One by one, attendees were sharing their commitment, their names echoing like a chorus behind her. Then it hit her, a thought so overwhelming it momentarily caught her breath. There was something deeper at play here. The real journey had begun not because they were in a luxurious mansion, but because they were shedding their masks. But amidst the excitement, Evelyn felt a familiar prickle of doubt, a reminder that building trust might be harder than they imagined. There were voices waiting, wanting to be heard. Yet how deep did the wounds run? How many were willing to share their own struggles once they stepped out of their privilege? The laughter and pledges hummed around her, painting a picture of hope. But as Evelyn looked into the eyes of the crowd, she wondered, could they really bridge the gap? Could they create real change if they would not take off their own blinders? As she met James's gaze, she realized she had to dive deeper. The true test was still ahead. Her heart was racing, not just from fear, but from the dawning realization that creating trust required more than good intentions. It would take courage to reveal more about their own vulnerabilities. "Let us share what we've learned too," she implored, her voice steady as she met the eyes of the audience. "We must be willing to expose our own truths, the very struggles that brought us here tonight. Only then can we hope to build real bridges." In that pivotal moment, Evelyn understood that this journey would not just define their future, it would break open past wounds and reveal long-hidden stories of resilience and pain. Could she count on their strength to face the truth together? Or had she just opened a Pandora's box full of fears? The room crackled with anticipation, the air thick with unspoken questions. Would they truly be ready to uncover what lay beneath the glittering facade? Evelyn felt the tension in the air, a current that surged among the eager faces in front of her. Each heartbeat echoed in the silence, creating a rhythm of hope laced with hesitation. She could sense the crowd inching closer, yearning for something real, something raw. But was it too much to ask? The courage she demanded of them must also be found within herself. James stepped up beside her, his voice steady. "What do you say we each share a story? A moment when we felt lost or helpless, yet found a way through." His suggestion hung in the air, precarious yet promising. Evelyn nodded, her heart fluttering at the prospect. "I'll go first." She thought of the moment, years ago, when she faced her most profound failure. "There was a time I lost everything. My first business collapsed, and I was left wondering if I could start over. It felt impossible then, like standing at the edge of a cliff, terrified of what lay below." She paused, letting the room absorb her vulnerability. "But I found strength I didn't know I had. I realized that failure isn't an end, it's a lesson. It brought me here, to share and support each of you." A murmur of empathy rippled through the crowd. Faces softened, as others began to shift in their seats, memories breaking the surface. James glanced around, encouraged by the moment. "I remember my dad losing his job when I was a teen. It wasn't just the money, it was the weight on his shoulders. I watched him carry that burden alone until one day he opened up to me about how scared he was." He took a breath, his voice trembling slightly.
"It taught me that asking for help is a strength, not a weakness." Then, from somewhere in the crowd, a voice broke the silence. "I faced homelessness for a while. It felt like there was no hope. I was afraid of sharing that part of my life." The speaker, a middle-aged woman with tears glistening in her eyes, continued, "But I found a community that welcomed me. They didn't care about my past. They just saw me." Evelyn's heart flipped. This was the moment they were building towards, the connections, the exchange of vulnerability and strength. She could see walls beginning to crumble, one story at a time. One by one, others joined in. Each story was a thread woven together, creating a tapestry of shared struggles and triumphs. There was laughter, tears, and a profound sense of unity. Yet, as the stories deepened, doubt nipped at the back of Evelyn's mind. Were they ready for what was unfolding? The raw truth of their lives would require more than just words. It would demand action and responsibility. Just as she was pondering, her eyes met Marissa's once more, who seemed to be reflecting, still holding her gaze with a knowing smile. Time seemed to freeze, and in that silence, Evelyn could almost hear a whisper, a gentle push forward. "Let's not just share our stories tonight," she urged, her voice ringing with newfound conviction. "Let's commit to actions that honor these experiences. Who among you will join me in forming a support network, a community not just for the affluent, but for everyone who needs a hand?" Hesitation replaced eagerness in some eyes. Others nodded, conviction returning. A man toward the back stood up. "Count me in. I want to help." Evelyn felt a surge of gratitude wash over her as others began to express their willingness to participate. But an unsettling sensation crawled up her spine. Doubt clashed with hope. They were on the verge of transforming lives, yet could they truly stick together in the long run? The energy swelled, but also fissured,
as unspoken concerns and fears hovered in the air. Evelyn breathed deeply, ready to face whatever came next. The stakes had become real. Would they find the courage to sustain this energy beyond tonight? Would this brave group step into the unknown together? As the final story was told, an electrifying sense of purpose began to fill the room. Evelyn knew they were at a crossroads. This was just the beginning, yet something deeper still loomed on the horizon. Could they truly forge a future built on these shared stories, one that resonated beyond the safe space of this gathering and into the wider community? Her heart raced. The real test was about to begin. Evelyn stood in the center of the room, the air thick with potential. Her heart thrummed in her ears as the crowd shifted again, a mix of excitement and uncertainty hanging in the balance. Faces that had shared deep stories now showed new doubts. It was a fierce struggle between hope and the fear of disappointment.
As she scanned the room, she caught sight of a quiet woman in the corner, eyes downcast but ears wide open. Evelyn felt an urgency surge within her. This was their moment. She had to dig deeper. "Let's make this real," she said, her tone rising like a wave, drawing everyone in closer. "I want each of you to think of one step you can take. It might be small, but it'll move us forward." One by one, hands began to lift. A young man spoke up first, his voice shaky but brave. "I want to volunteer at the shelter. I've seen so many struggling out there. I can give my time." A wave of applause surged through the group, a ripple of support crashing against the walls that had once separated them. Another woman chimed in, her spirit ignited. "I'll open my home for meetings. We need a place to gather and support each other." Cheers erupted again. Their energy was building, like steam escaping a kettle, and Evelyn rode that wave of momentum. Then Marissa, who had been silently observing, finally stood up, her presence commanding attention. "I want to create a mentorship program. We have so much knowledge in this room. We can help young people navigate their challenges." The clarity in her voice cut through the noise. It was brilliant, hopeful, and interlaced with conviction. Instead of just sharing their stories, they were morphing those stories into action. Evelyn felt the warmth in her chest bloom as people began to realize the power they held together. Yet, for every voice raised, another part of her felt the weight of responsibility pressing down. Was this enough? Would these intentions translate into concrete change? She pushed those thoughts aside, focusing instead on the spark igniting among them. But then she felt the tug of reality. What about those who weren't present? The unspoken voices of the community that were missing from tonight's gathering haunted her. "We need to reach beyond this room," Evelyn urged, her heart racing again. "Let's not only empower ourselves, but also extend our hands to those who couldn't make it or don't know this is happening. How can we bring more people into this?" Silence enveloped the room for a moment. New ideas twinkled in some eyes, like stars beginning to form in a night sky. Others looked down, grappling with the challenge that lay bare before them, how to reach the unreachable. A soft voice in the back spoke up, cutting through the quiet. "What if we organized an open event at the park? Invite everyone we know? Make it a day of connection, food, stories, whatever it takes to bring people together." Evelyn felt her heart leap. It was a beautiful idea that echoed her own wishes. The room buzzed with renewed energy, laughter mingling with determination as more voices joined in, each adding their own flair to the vision unfolding before them. With every new commitment made, with every voice raised, Evelyn realized something pivotal. They weren't just creating a support network. They were instilling hope, planting seeds of change that might very well transform their corner of the world. But even amidst the breathless excitement, doubt flickered like a candle in her chest. The fear of failure loomed over her like a dark cloud. Would they stand united when faced with obstacles? Could these initial sparks sustain a fire that would last? As they began drafting plans, emotions hung thick in the air, pushing them to dream bigger. Evelyn took a deep breath and gathered her courage. "Let's meet next week, same place, same time, to start bringing this vision to life. Who's in?" Hands shot up again. The hope ignited anew, brightening the shadows that had lingered. Yet deep down, Evelyn's heart still raced. They were at the precipice of something huge, but would they be able to navigate the journey ahead? With this thought lingering, she felt a magnetic pull. The stage was set, and they were ready to step out into the unknown. But what awaited them on the other side? Evelyn arrived at the following meeting buzzing with anticipation.
The energy from last week had transformed her doubts into excitement, and she could feel the weight of possibilities humming in the air. When she entered the room, she was struck by the sight of familiar faces, each one a part of this shared dream, ready to build something meaningful together. "Welcome back," she greeted warmly, her heart swelling with gratitude. "Who's ready to get started?" Everyone nodded, smiles spreading across their faces like sunlight breaking through clouds. They gathered in a circle, and Evelyn encouraged each person to share any progress since their last meeting. It was a mix of nervousness and eagerness, but each voice added to the sense of community growing around them. "Since the last meeting, I made flyers for our park event," the young man who had volunteered at the shelter exclaimed. His pride was palpable. "I handed them out downtown and noticed people actually stopped to talk about it. They want to be involved." "That's amazing," Evelyn replied, her pulse quickening. This was the type of momentum they needed, and she could see it spreading like wildfire. Next, Marissa built on the idea of mentorship, outlining plans to partner with local schools. "If we can create a list of mentors willing to share their skills, we could reach out to organizations that work with youth. Imagine the impact we can have." Evelyn marveled as more and more ideas poured forth. People promised to contribute in various ways, bringing food, organizing games, or providing resources. But amidst the chatter, she noticed the quiet woman in the corner again. This time, her eyes were raised, reflecting a flicker of courage. Evelyn had been drawn to her from the start. She felt compelled to know her story. "Would you like to share anything with us?"
Evelyn invited gently, sensing the weight of unspoken thoughts. The woman hesitated, biting her lip, then nodded slowly. "I've been working at a nearby clinic," she began, her voice steadying. "I see what happens when people don't have support. It breaks my heart." She paused, emotions choking her words before she continued. "If we could set up a health fair alongside the event, it might help those in need." A hush fell over the group. Her idea was powerful. The collective realization of what they could achieve flooded the room. They had the chance to not only inspire connection, but also to provide essential services that affected lives directly. "Wow, that's incredible." Evelyn sensed the energy shift again, deeper this time, as everyone began to digest the magnitude of the woman's proposal. "Let's brainstorm how we can make that health fair happen. This is our moment to push through fear and serve as a community," Evelyn encouraged. They began discussing logistics, the flow of the event growing more elaborate and layered. Food stands, crafts for kids, a mentoring booth, and now a potential health corner. Each concept led to more ideas, sparking creativity and hope, but Evelyn's heart still carried a whisper of doubt. Will we really be able to do this? Can we handle the pressure? Despite all the enthusiasm around her, that question lingered in the corners of her mind. As the meeting neared its end, she suggested, "Let's take what we've discussed today and turn it into actionable items. Each of us can take one responsibility that resonates with us." Hands shot up again, enthusiasm surging as they claimed their tasks. Inside, Evelyn felt a thrill and a fear intertwined. All of this was alive now, but what if something went wrong? As the final plans were laid out and they prepared to wrap up, she found herself fighting back tears. It was a mix of pride and anxiety pooling in her chest. "Okay, everyone," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "Let's meet again as we get closer to the event. I believe in each of you. Can you all promise to bring your ideas to life?" They nodded, some clapping, voices overlapping with encouragement and affirmations. As the crowd began to disperse, Evelyn found herself lingering, thinking about what lay ahead. The idea of bringing people together felt monumental, and yet deep down, the question remained. If they did manage to ignite this spark, would they be ready to face the challenges that would inevitably arise? With that seed of worry nestled in her mind, she stepped out into the evening air, the weight of their upcoming venture wrapping around her like a tight hug. She felt both terrified and exhilarated about the path ahead, but exactly what awaited them at the end of it all? The weeks flew by. Evelyn's group meetings transformed from brainstorming sessions to bustling workshops where everyone fell into rhythm. They collaborated, fueled by optimism and that shared goal simmering just beneath the surface. And yet, amidst the fervor, the undercurrent of worry still tugged at Evelyn.
She had seen too many ambitious dreams fade into nothingness when faced with real-world obstacles. As the day of the event approached, Evelyn barely slept. Her mind raced through endless lists of responsibilities. Did they have enough volunteers? What if the health fair didn't attract enough interest? Every scenario played out like a movie in her mind. Even as she prepared her presentation materials, her thoughts slipped into darker territories of doubt. On a particularly restless night, Evelyn got a message from Marissa. They had a small setback. "Our food vendor canceled," the text read. Evelyn's stomach dropped. They needed food to draw people in. It was essential. Frantically, she called Marissa, who calmed her down. "Let's think outside the box," Marissa suggested. "We know several local restaurants. Maybe we can reach out to them. They might want to donate food for the exposure." Evelyn thought about it, a spark of hope igniting in her chest. "That's a great idea. I'll make the calls." They spent the whole next day strategizing on how to approach local business owners. With every call, Evelyn felt her frustration rise. Many sounded uninterested, brushing her off before she could even finish her pitch. It felt personal. Her passion turned into desperation, threatening to overwhelm her. It was nearing 5 o'clock when she reached out to a small family-owned taco shop. The owner, Maria, picked up. Evelyn carefully laid out their plans. Silence hung in the air as she finished her pitch. Just as doubt threatened to creep in again, Maria's voice broke through. "I love what you're doing. We'll donate the food," she said. The warmth in her tone washed over Evelyn like spring sunshine. Relief flooded her, neck muscles unclenching at last. "That's incredible. Thank you so much." Evelyn's heart raced. She could already picture long tables piled high with food, people laughing and sharing meals. As the days turned into hours leading up to the event, the community came alive. Flyers plastered all over town promised a day full of joy, health, and connection. But even as excitement swirled, Evelyn struggled against anxiety. What if the turnout was low? Her dreams felt like fragile glass, beautiful yet ready to shatter with the slightest provocation. Finally, the big day arrived. The sun peeked through scattered clouds, casting a golden glow on the park. Evelyn stood at the entrance, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum. She looked around, awash in the sea of vibrant colors, and for a moment, everything felt surreal. She breathed deeply, attempting to quiet the chaos inside. Families began to trickle in. Laughing kids darted toward the craft station, while others gathered at the food area, eyes wide with delight. The energy was electric.
As Evelyn surveyed the scene, excitement swirled with a smidge of uncertainty. Could this really be happening? Then she spotted the quiet woman from their meetings. Her eyes were bright, holding the vision that had ignited them all. The woman began to set up the health fair booth, smiling and welcoming everyone with open arms. Evelyn felt an overwhelming rush of gratitude. All the hard work, all the late nights, every little overcome fear was leading to this moment. But suddenly, she heard a commotion nearby. Evelyn turned to see a group of children tumbling toward the stage area, shouting. Were they fighting? The sight sent a jolt through her. What now? Evelyn's heart raced again. How would they handle it? Would this be the moment everything fell apart? As she hurried over, shadows of doubt clouded her mind. What if this was just the beginning of something greater, or the end of their dream? Evelyn took a breath, determined to meet whatever awaited her head-on. She was right where she needed to be, but was everyone else ready for the challenge? The unfolding drama held her breath hostage as she stepped closer to the stage. Evelyn hurried toward the stage, her heart hammering with every step. The cacophony of laughter and yelling twisted into a knot of dread. Children were sprinting, scrambling to the front, their joy seeming to tumble out of control. She reached the edge of the stage just as the chaos peaked. 3 little boys were grappling with what looked like a giant inflatable ball, and amidst the struggle, the ball bounced off the ground, rolling hilariously away from them. The transparent chaos broke the tension, and laughter erupted from the crowd. Evelyn felt a rush of relief, knowing that what she'd feared would be trouble was merely a playful moment of childhood exuberance. The anxiety ebbing from her chest, she shook her head with a smile. Kids were drawn to fun like moths to a flame, and the event was already working its magic. But even as the joy settled in, Evelyn noticed something that made her combative spirit flicker. One of the boys had tripped and fallen, and now he sat cradling his knee, tears glistening in his wide eyes. Instinctively, she knelt by his side. "Hey there, champ," Evelyn said softly. "What happened?" Just a scratch," the boy sniffed, looking up at her with hopeful innocence. "Scratches happen to the best of us," she replied with a warm smile. "Want to show me what a brave kid looks like?" That coaxing brought a faint smile to his lips. The moment reminded her of why she put so much energy into this event. It was bigger than her. This was about the community.
It was about coming together even in the face of adversity to share love, hope, and healing. "Do you want to join your friends?" she suggested, pointing toward the raucous laughter nearby. "We've got a whole world of fun waiting for you." At that, the boy nodded, his spirits lifted just enough for him to stand.
As he hopped back toward the group, Evelyn turned to survey the gathering around her. Families chatting, kids playing. It filled her with warmth. Just then, a familiar voice broke through her moment of reflection. Marissa appeared, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "Evelyn, you need to see this!" She gestured toward the main booth area. Following her friend, Evelyn's heart surged with curiosity. They threaded through clusters of attendees, and when they reached the booth, she was floored. A line of people waited patiently, all interested in different health screenings and information. The chatter was vibrant, echoing hope and connection. "I didn't think this many people would show," Evelyn exclaimed, her voice mingling with the noise of the crowd. "I told you we needed to believe," Marissa winked, her enthusiasm infectious. Realizing that years of hard work and collaboration had culminated into this moment brought tears to Evelyn's eyes. But before she could fully bask in the joy, a sharp cry rang out from their craft station. Evelyn whipped around, the laughter replaced by sudden stillness. A small girl stood, her hands clutched around a broken craft item, hair flying wildly as her little face scrunched up in anguish. Evelyn's heart sank. "Not again," she muttered under her breath, feeling the familiar worry creep back in. Marissa, unhesitating, took a step toward the girl, but Evelyn felt the need to step in, to comfort and validate. "I'll handle this," she said softly, moving forward. As she reached the girl, her own heart beat steadily, recalling the roller coaster of emotions that had brought her here. Was this just another challenge, or would it bring them closer together? Evelyn bent down, ready to create a moment of understanding. But as she knelt, a shadow crossed her mind. Was she truly ready to help, or would these small crises disrupt everything they had built? Evelyn inhaled sharply, feeling a swell of responsibility mixed with the urgency of the moment. What would she say? How could she turn this moment of despair into something meaningful? The answer loomed before her like an unwritten chapter, waiting to unfold. Would she find the right words, or would doubt cloud the connection she so desperately sought to build? Evelyn knelt before the tearful girl, struck by the innocence reflected in those watery eyes. "Hey there," she started gently, her voice low and soothing. "I can see you're feeling really upset. Want to talk about it? What happened?" The girl clutched the broken craft project like a lifeline. "It was beautiful, and now it's ruined," she lamented, her small voice cracking under the weight of her disappointment. Evelyn felt a pang in her heart. How often had she underestimated the significance of small things in her own life? "Sometimes things don't go as we plan, do they?" she said softly. "But you know what? Just because something's broken doesn't mean it can't have a new life."
We can make something even better together. How about that? The girl blinked, uncertainty mingling with intrigue. Slowly she nodded, and Evelyn offered her a smile that shone with promise. "Let's grab some new supplies and see what we can create. You can design something totally different, something that's uniquely yours." The girl exchanged her forlornness for a flicker of hope. Holding Evelyn's hand tightly, they headed toward the craft table, where a flood of vibrant colors and materials awaited. Together they began to build, and soon her laughter erupted, dissolving the tension that had hung in the air. Evelyn glanced around as they crafted, feeling a sense of unity radiating from the community. Families shared meals, laughter filled the park, and connections formed a tapestry of resilience. It wasn't just about overcoming obstacles, it was about finding joy in the journey, about creating new stories from moments of despair. Yet, even in this blissful atmosphere, Evelyn couldn't ignore the remnants of worry that lingered just beneath the surface. As the event progressed, she saw clusters of people engaging and sharing, but in the corners of her mind danced the ghosts of doubt. What if tomorrow was met with silence? What if they couldn't sustain this energy beyond this day? Then a voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Evelyn!" It was James, his eyes gleaming with pride as he joined her at the craft table. "You're making a real difference here. Look at all these smiles." "Thanks, James," she replied, the warmth of his words soothing her. "It's just the beginning, isn't it?" "Absolutely," he nodded earnestly. "But remember, it's the foundation we're building right now that will matter most.
It's the relationships, the trust, and the shared commitment to be there for one another. His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Evelyn's heart surged with hope, as the vision she had was slowly materializing before her eyes. She felt lighter, and suddenly the weight of the world felt less daunting. This was not merely an event, but a true movement, a connection sparked by the blend of differences and shared experiences. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden hues across the park, the energy shifted to a reflective calm. Families began to gather in groups, listening to speakers share their stories of resilience, reflecting the very essence of the day. Evelyn knew they had stirred something remarkable. It was raw, real, and beautifully messy. Then came a moment that brought tears to her eyes. Several of the children, whose laughter had echoed throughout the day, stood on a small stage, ready to share their own stories, their own struggles, and their hopes. As they spoke, there were no barriers, no judgments, just open hearts creating a mosaic of understanding, each voice illuminating another. Tears welled as she listened.
Yes, this was what she had envisioned, a space where everyone felt valued and seen, where compassion outshone any worries or fears. James appeared by her side once more. Look at that. They're owning their stories. This is transformation. Yes, she whispered, pouring every ounce of gratitude into the moment. Each voice that rose was a building block, each story breathing life into their mission. And right then, a revelation struck her. The journey was bigger than her obligations as a host. It was about encouraging the community to re-envision their paths, to embrace their struggles, and turn them into power. As the final child stepped down, the crowd erupted into applause. Evelyn felt the warmth of their collective energy wash over her, and in that moment, it became clearer than ever. This was just the beginning. Evelyn stepped forward, her heart pounding and a smile on her lips. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your incredible stories today. It's not just about what we've done, it's about what we will do together from here on out. Holding James's gaze, she felt the tether of connection deepen. Together, they had ignited a movement. Together, they would face any challenges ahead. Let's take this energy and carry it forward, shall we? She continued, looking around the crowd, their faces lit with promise, determination, and joy. Let's keep building this community. Together. As the sun faded behind the hills, Evelyn's heart soared with hope. They were embarked on a transformative journey, interwoven in their stories and united in their mission. And though uncertainty would always weave its way through tomorrow, one thing became crystal clear. Together, they were unstoppable. So now is the time for you to join this amazing journey. You need to subscribe now to witness more incredible transformations. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Make sure to comment your thoughts and feelings about this story ending, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let's keep the momentum going.